Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. At least that's where we originated from. Well, racing that has been ho-hum in the past provided real good competition this weekend. Formula One, on the other hand, continues to be predictable. I've got some numbers that may shock you. And we'll talk about America still being the land of opportunity as Indianapolis, I've said that once or twice, celebrates the 50th anniversary of Mario Andretti's 500 win. All this and more coming up. Welcome, everybody, to Speedway Report, Monday, May the 13th, 2019, from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. Did you all have a good Mother's Day? I hope everybody did and remembered your moms yesterday. Let's hit up our Speedway Report Victory Lane Lap to begin the show. Lots to talk about and even more on the track than just the results. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour was in Kansas Speedway on Saturday night, where Brad Keselowski won a thriller there. A very exciting race. And the truck race on Friday night, Ross Chastain wound up in Victory Lane after poor Stuart Friesen. He ran out of fuel just a few laps to go. As he gets closer and closer, yet further away from his first career Truck Series win, dirt big block guy. I'm rooting for him pretty hard, I admit that. NASCAR's Well and Modified Tour was in Stafford Springs, Connecticut for the Spring Sizzler. 3 times rained out. Finally got in on Saturday. Won by Doug Coby. Rough race in the 200 laps. Had 13 caution flags for 77 laps. Out in Arizona, NASCAR's K&N Pro Series West Series was in Tucson. Derek Kraus swept the Twin 100s. Back in the Midwest, IndyCar held the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Simon Pagenaud drove a brilliant race. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. In Formula One, kind of the same old, same old. Mercedes 1-2 on the podium at the Spanish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was your winner over Valtteri Bottas. On the dirt here on the good old US of A, the World of Outlaw Late Models gave it a whirl in Fayetteville, North Carolina with the first in-flight 100. It was rained out Friday and Saturday night. They are looking for new dates to complete the show. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars fared a little bit better than their late model cousins at the Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. Hashtag Let's Race 2. Well, they got one. And on Friday night, Donnie Schatz won the A-Main. On Saturday night, it was postponed, but it sets up a pretty good weekend. It'll go to Wednesday, July 17th to kick off Kings Royal Week. USAC Sprints were part of Let's Race 2. They raced 1 as well. On Friday at Eldora, Tyler Courtney was your winner. They were rained out on Saturday night, as was Grandview Speedway in Pennsylvania, as was the Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The stadium, they have been rained out 3 of their scheduled 4 weeks so far in 2019. Lots to talk about. Mother's Day weekend can be somewhat quiet in the world of racing, but not this year. We talk about May. You may have heard this, month of May. Very excited for me, as all racers treat May kind of like an 8-year-old boy treats December, with Indianapolis, Charlotte, and so much going on. This year, 2019, it was the 50th year anniversary of Mario Andretti's only Indy 500 win, coming back in 1969. I remember it was the year I was born, so it's easy for me to keep track of Mario's 500 win and the memories of that. Mother's Day yesterday, Andretti's 500 win. Where am I going all this? Well, I got a nice note from a mom that I know, and she wanted to talk about her son. And this does tie into what we're talking about. Mario came here from Italy. He and his family, his twin brother Aldo, became Americans, and immigrants pretty much made their way and climbed the ladder and were fantastic. Aldo was a pretty good racer himself. Mario becoming arguably the greatest of all time, certainly a name synonymous with the sport of motorsports. I want to talk about Asef Farsiani. Now, who is this young man? Well, his mom, Leila, is a friend of mine, and she is here from Iran. She is here in the United States. And I wanted to talk about her son in memory of honor of Mother's Day yesterday, and in a little remembrance of Mario coming to this country and winning the Indianapolis 500, becoming the great one that he is. Asaph arrived here in the U.S. when he was about 10. He's 13 now. Did not know English when he arrived. He can speak English now. And notes and poetry are what he is known for to his mom. I want to read you a poem that Asaph wrote. God made a wonderful mother, a mother who never grows old. He made her smile of the sunshine, and he molded her heart of pure gold. In her eyes he placed a bright shining star, in her cheeks fair roses you see. God made a wonderful mom, and he gave her to me. Now, we all talk about teenagers and millennials, and that poem was written by a 13-year-old young man here from Iran, English as a second language, if not a third language, and it reminds me of all the potential that he has in him. Layla, you're doing a very good job raising your son. Reminds me of Mario. He came here as a young guy, didn't know much of what was going on. He turned out pretty well himself. So, Asaph here from Iran, I wish you well as you climb your ladder. I know we veered off our usual path of talking about car racing a little bit, but there was a tie-in there a little bit with Mother's Day, Mario's 50th anniversary, and hopefully a boost to a young man who should have a lot of confidence because he has a lot to offer the world. Let's get on track at Indianapolis with the Grand Prix. I read an article, and it did not hold up well because I read it Saturday morning prior to the Indianapolis Grand Prix, and it talked about the history of this race, the road course race, of which it had been pretty much dominated by Penske. It was nicknamed the Roger Penske Benefit. One of his drivers has won from the pole, or the pole winner has gone on to win the race, and it has not been that scintillating of a competition. This year turned out to be anything but that. It was by far the best event that had been staged so far on the road course for the Indy cars. But the article I read online went out and talked about how it would be better even if you cut the grass or went to a wedding than bothered to go to Saturday to this race at Indianapolis. Now, maybe if you have to cut the grass, I guess. But come on, going to a wedding, attending a wedding, nothing's that bad where you got to put on a suit and tie on a Saturday and go sit at a wedding. Come on. And it turns out that story did not hold up well at all because that was one outstanding race. Simon Pagenaud had the drive that should be talked about for a while. This race was set up, different pit strategies, the yin and the yang of who was leading and who was back in the field, and everybody was on different strategies, tire strategies, fuel strategies, and then the rains came. Rain, we knew from the forecast, was threatening the entire event, would come in at some point, and the skies opened up, but not hard. It wasn't a downpour, and it wasn't raining. It was drizzling, it was sprinkling, close until the end of the race where it came down harder. They lost the track and they got it wet. But in the meantime, as we neared the halfway point and into the later stages, it would sprinkle, it would rain lightly, it would stop, and it just would never come down. And the teams had a tough choice as to when and if to put on rain tires or stay with the slicks. It was a crew chief. If they had a full head of hair, they had hair that looked like mine at the end of this thing. It was a tough choice to make. And Simon Pagenaud went back in the field to put on rain tires, and he wasn't sure if he could make it. He felt he could make it up on slicks, but Scott Dixon was out front. Pagenaud hunts him down, passes him, and Pagenaud does not have any push-to-pass time left, where Scott Dixon still had some, as Pagenaud took the lead with just over a lap remaining in the race, with the rain coming down. The two of them had a great battle the last couple of laps, Dixon giving chase, but as Scott admitted after the race, didn't take care of his front tires in his nose cone, the nose of the car, just wouldn't stick to the track and couldn't get the grip that he wanted. And Pagenaud just took better care of his and went down. Obviously, it was still a Roger Penske benefit as Penske winds up in victory lane again. But I was excited for this race, I guess, coming up because it's Indianapolis. It returns, or has returned, Indianapolis to more of a month of May feeling. And this is still a big race. It's at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, even though on the road course. But yeah, expecting it. I didn't know what to expect. I hope for a very competitive race, but in years past, this just has not been that action-packed, hasn't been great, somewhat predictable. As the pole winner goes out front, leads, pits, gets the lead back, sometimes makes it a 2 or 3 stop race, but winds up winning. Just wasn't there in the previous years. And this year it was, and it always is. Whenever you see cars on track at Indianapolis, it gets you bouncing pretty good, because this time next week I will be packing for Indiana. It did wind up being a Roger Penske benefit, but some others that were pretty good and deserve some mentions. Obviously, Scott Dixon came home in second. Disappointed with that, as he was so close to winning. But guys, how about Jack Harvey with a podium in the Meyer Shank Racing car? Michael Shank, longtime sports car guy, winner of the Rolex 24, IMSA GTP competitor. Now does other forms of IMSA as well as Meyer Shank Racing in the IndyCar series. And Jack Harvey did a great job with a podium. Came home third in the IndyCar Grand Prix. And Matthias Leist as well. I saw him win the Freedom 100 in the past, driving for the legendary AJ Foyt. He wound up fourth at the Grand Prix. These guys got to be jumping up and down, hopping pretty hard, getting ready for 500. As oval testing begins tomorrow. And if you're watching us live, it's Tuesday, May the 14th. Cars will be on track on the big oval, on the 2.5 miler, as we get ready for the 500 in just under 2 weeks' time. Talking NASCAR and Saturday night, the Kansas race quality so much higher than it has been with the aero package. Here we go again. This has been a bane to some tracks, but a boon to other tracks. It really worked well at Kansas Speedway on Saturday night, I thought. I like the competition. I like the passing. Brought a lot of guys. I don't know if we can credit the package with this, but the competition was certainly there, and it was really good. Alex Bowman, I thought, could have won this thing at some point. He could have gotten the job done. He has finished in second place now for 3 races in a row. That, my friends, is a winning combination. It just hasn't won yet, but that is what you got to do to win, is if you put yourself in the top 5 each week, you're there. Eventually, the line will drop your way, and the cards will be dealt to you in any other cliche that I can think to speak of. Alex Bowman and the Hendrick cars, all looking better, all looking to be improved. Chase Elliott with another top 5. So the Chevrolets, particularly the Hendrick cars, which we've seen struggle for a while, doing much, much better. Alex Bowman, wouldn't be surprised one bit to see him in victory lane a bunch this coming week as we enter race weeks here in Charlotte. I thought Ricky Stenhouse even had a shot to win this thing. I saw him in his Ford pickup truck driving around town today. Saw him in the Lakeside Park, Ricky did. But yeah, driving that 17 for Roush Racing, which Roush is in general has not been overly competitive and is lacking a little bit lately. But Stenhouse looked like he could have done some damage there, threatened for the win, which he did for a little bit. Even Tyler Reddick for Richard Childress, great run for him, was in front, and if cards could have fallen his way, he was a threat for a top 5. Doing well. Car was good. Pit stop strategy got him towards the front. And the ending between Clint Boyer and Eric Jones, they weren't ready to throw down, but it was after the white flag. Eric Jones throws the block on Clint Boyer, who was the lead car with 4 fresh tires on the restart. So Boyer was coming pretty hard, and it, if money's going to be on one of the guys that pitted, yeah, it's going to be Boyer. He had the fresh tires, and he was coming up through. And after they took the white flag, you saw him 3, 4, 5 way down the front stretch. Eric Jones threw the block down low, then threw the block up high. Boyer let off, and the momentum stopped. Boyer went from the top 5 to, I think, an 8th place finish. And in his words after the race, we should have finished second, and he very well could have if he had just kept his foot in it. He said next time he's dumping Eric Jones. Yeah, I don't blame him. Of course, I don't blame Clint either. If I look at it from 2 points of view, when the white flag is already in your rearview mirror, yeah, you're going to try to block someone and hold off their momentum because you're just trying for that spot one more time around, and that position is yours. Yeah, when Clint Boyer, if I got 4 tires and I'm heading to the front, and again, white flag is in my rearview mirror. I think the front bumper's got to be used to knock the guy out of the way if he's going to throw your block. I see it from both points of view. If I was Eric Jones, I would have thrown the block. If I'm Clint Boyer, I would have put the bumper to him and sent him around and out of my way. You don't want to wreck a guy, especially on a restart with that little bit of time left. But with whatever we got, however many laps were left, I guess they had an overtime green-white checker on that one. So you're looking at white flag passed. Yeah, if someone cuts you off or tries to block you, use the bumper and push them out of the way. I'm not for spinning a guy, but when he blocks you, that's a different story. Even if you give him one, if he's the leader of the race, because, well, he's the leader, so he can set the pace. But second time around, yeah, block me once, shame on you. Block me once, shame on me. Block me twice, shame on you. Around you go. I do want to jump overseas to Spain. I kind of like this race a lot every year at Barcelona. It's part of May. Spain has such a rich history in Formula One, and it is the race that sets up the Monaco GP. And this race in particular was not that good. Everything that I was lacking or expect to lack at the Indianapolis Grand Prix that Pagenaud won did exactly take place, except for the start at Spain. As Louis Frank once told me, you only need to watch the first 5 minutes of a Formula One race and only the last 5 minutes of a NASCAR Cup Series race. Well, in this case, he was half right. In Kansas, there was good racing, which you could have watched the whole thing. However, in Spain, yeah, at the start, that was it. If you saw it, Valtteri Bottas had the pole, and this was the most exciting and deciding factor of the race. He claims he had a little bit of a clutch problem, but Lewis Hamilton got a much better start from P2 and was able to beat Bottas into turn one and take the lead. Now, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel made it 3 wide going into the first turn, but flat spotted one of his front tires. That put the tire wear in him right from the start, and he was not as competitive as he needed to be. He just couldn't get up there. So that was the exciting moment, the start in the first few laps, or even not even the first few laps, but the start in the first few corners really had me at the edge of my seat. However, once we rolled through there, it was typical. Lewis in first, Bottas in second. Yeah, we got it. So this race cruises along. I got it. Hamilton wins. All right, I got it. After the fact, actually it was today I looked this on Twitter, and it came up across a stat from Tony DeZino of NBC Sports. Now, you may remember Tony. I've known him for a few years. He's been a guest on the show before, talking usually sports car racing. But he's got some numbers from Formula One. I want to read it to you. The first 5 F1 races this year, get this, have had these same 5 drivers finish in the top 5 every single race. 5 races, 5 guys in the top 5 every week. The same team has finished 1-2 in each. Mercedes has finished 1-2 with either Bottas or Hamilton in every single race. Yeah, that's pretty lean. That's pretty lean competition right there. Meanwhile, in IndyCar, the first 5 races have had 5 different winners and 10 different podium finishers. Much better competition over here on the IndyCar side. I don't know if Tony did the research on that himself or somebody got it to him, but that just jumped off the page at me, is the kind of numbers that we're seeing in Formula One and the kind of ho-hum lack of competition we see there. Now, good for the U.S. folks, as Haas F1 scored double points as both of their cars finished in the top 10, so they scored championship points for both cars, which is tough to do, but I know Formula One does not carry the competition level that IndyCar does. However, I still do enjoy Formula One. It's a good series. I enjoy the cars. I enjoy the drivers. But just, wow, that lack of competition just blew me away after the Spanish race. 5 drivers, same 5 guys in the top 5 for every single race so far this year through all 5 racing. Gosh, yeah, I hope the FIA, Jean Todt, take a look at that. Maybe they can do something NASCAR style to, as Bill France Jr. used to say, improve the show, or don't stink up my show. To close out tonight, we want to tip our hat to Motor Week Illustrated, where the roots of the show was born, and our Racer of the Week. Well, we took a look at a lot of guys. Some guys really wheeled the cars this weekend. It was pretty interesting. In the rain, using skill instead of technology, he beat Scott Dixon with no push to passes left, but still outdrove one of the very best in the business on talent and not strategy or technology. Simon Pagenaud is our Speedway Report Racer of the Week. Congratulations on that great win from Indianapolis. In between our broadcasts, please keep up on the world of racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This show and all of our past shows are updated on the site. We also have some racing articles to read there. Past episodes of this you can find on Facebook. We're at Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds. We're on the Racers Reunion Facebook page. You can catch up to me on Twitter at Speedway Report or at Speedway Pat. I pin the last show up top so you can catch your most recent broadcast there. I'm at Speedway Pat on Instagram, and go to racersreunion.com in the forum for previous shows. Also, if you're connected to our YouTube channel and LinkedIn, you'll see podcasts there. Big thank you to everyone on the Facebook Live feed for joining the conversation during the show tonight. Go see a race at a track near you if Mother Nature will cooperate. I know rain's been tough so far this year. The grassroots ovals, drag strips, and road courses are the backbone and foundation of the auto racing world. So see you at a track. If it's not raining, I'll see you Friday or Saturday or Sunday at a race near you. I want to thank all of the military past and present for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. Now, on the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Racing and Rocking with draglist.com. You can join BP, JB, and BS with some drag racing talk and some really cool music. Now, we will be back here live on Facebook in 1 week. That will be Monday, May the 20th. We will look at NASCAR's All-Star Weekend, Indy 500 qualifying, NHRA's Virginia Nationals, and a whole bunch of short track racing. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week.